Pastor here coming to you from Off the Grid. I've seen a lot of comments on a video that I put out in the last year or two. Be careful about so-called intentional communities, and this is based on personal experience. I do want to mention that, though, the goal of having community is not a bad goal. And just because you or I may find some complications with personalities, I just want to say that's entirely normal. There are people that are it's a very difficult society today. There is a lot of propaganda. There's a lot of manufactured tensions that are taking place. Some believe it's caused by the media. Some believe it's caused by the changes in the heavens, if you will, almost bringing change to our planet through some of the unrest. It's difficult to say exactly what it is, but these are not the best of times socially. And I think that needs to be stated here, because I'm bringing this video to you in between realities. Let me explain. I think that certain elements of intentional community, a little bit easier 10 years ago, a little bit easier 5 years ago, and it depends on who you are. But I would also say that there's going to be a lot more people, maybe a little bit more serious about growing up as adults the next few years. There's a lot of people that go off grid or desire to be sustainable that are still taking aspects of Babylon with them. And I can go on for hours and hours about what that is exactly, but I'm just going to touch on that and let you figure out the blanks. We all do. We all do to a certain degree. We're affected by the world that we're born into and the programming that we receive. And now, thanks to, and I'm not saying it's all a negative thing, but a lot of people have been infected by propaganda online that a lot of people are accessing via their smartphones. So a lot of off-gridders today aren't really thinking with their off-grid country bumpkin mind. They're connected in with all the stuff going on the internet. And I'm also very aware of things that are going on. So it actually makes sense for me to keep doing what I'm doing, which is off-the-grid media. But do I think about a future that doesn't involve all that media, that involves people working together, building, growing food, and hopefully not under super stressful circumstances like, an event just happened and massive flight from the West Coast and the East Coast. People can and probably will, under such circumstances, develop mindful, intentional community. I would perceive the reality to be something like, to a certain degree, we do attract good people in our lives if that's what we're aligned with and that's what we're attracting. But we can also deal with complications, and sometimes we deal with complications to teach us a little bit about boundaries. I look at my own experiences over the years to teach us to not be so gullible, to teach us that sometimes the only people that reach their hand out in friendship in certain areas may cause a problem later on or a sabotage later on. And so I have enough stories worthy of a book. Not the time to go through each situation, but we're looking at like 10 core stories of oh my God situations, whether it be a woofing thing or a supposed intentional community. And then of course there's the politics of the single man dealing with couples and the energy dynamics that some couples may have when you have groupthink, and there's different variants of that. So I've gotten to a point where I see it beneficial to maintain the independent path, but always thinking about, well, what is mindful, intentional community, and could we see particular changes in the cosmos and reality, the things that are happening in the physical world, including society, is a reflection of what is happening spiritually. Could there be a future where people are more aligned spiritually, to where they're less affected by the propaganda? So there's an element of me that wants to see that and can picture what a mindful, intentional community looks like. This is an area, part of Colorado, where a lot of things grow well. It is a part of North America to where the building codes are a lot more lax than other places in North America. It's not super popular. It's not on Discovery Today, and there might be a place that's not very known, or on the local cable news. It's in your area. So there's something special about discovering places in America that haven't already been turned into strip malls and, casinos and who knows what else. And so there's something special in that. Not everyone appreciates that. A lot of people still look at nature as something to conquer or something to make money off of, and community as something that they organize, right, to use others for their own selfish gain. So when we talk about intentional community, or even the word community, we need to look at terms and definitions. And we need to look at whether we're looking at a certain situation that's a mindful or unmindful expression of it. They may be using a certain terminology, community, intentional community, blah, 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 but what is it really? And is there happiness there? Or is there a slave frequency? Because I do think that when the collapse happens, people with large plots of property, some of them have experience as master manipulators, as control freaks, as people that like to be in charge of others. There's an issue with a lot of men in our society that don't really respect other men. And it's something that I've seen. See, I've only been doing the off-grid thing for so many years, but as soon as I put myself out there, as early as 2012, 2013, just help random people, when you put yourself out there, even as a traveler, it can attract people that will open up their arms and say, yes, come here, we'll help you, because they've sized you up as someone to take advantage of. Briefly now, I did talk about not being paid $200 after I worked at a food cart here in town, and what a devastating blow that was to me. This right before my car stopped working. And I wondered whether it was a spiritual attack. Her transmission stopped working for some reason during the transport of food, delivery of food, which was one of my many, many jobs in which I worked 25 hours in 3 days. The point of bringing all of this up with regards to that is, after all that had happened, she acted like she was caring for a moment and asked me if I had any family or knew anyone in town, because she already picked up on my desperate vibration. Others have as well. Hey, I'm willing to do this. I would really come out, even though I'm a video guy. And some could argue, Alex, you should have shown a little bit more alpha. You should have showed a little bit more. And I've really, there's a part of me that's, it's not so much submissive, but very willing to do hard work for someone out of the goodness of my heart. And for some reason in this reality, it's been confused for weakness and something to take advantage of. My trust. Even with that lady not doing any paperwork before I actually do work at her establishment, at her food cart. There was no agreement I would be paid a certain amount. And there's other situations to where I put it in the hands of someone else. Go ahead, you decide. I'm just here to work real hard. Kind of like a classic, like maybe an old world work ethic that isn't necessarily respected in this current generation or incarnation. So I've seen myself burned a few times by that willingness to absolutely trust. I'm here to let you guys know that having an open heart is sometimes what some people look for. We should have a strong connection with our heart, but also our intuition, and not let people use terminology like open up your heart to let them verbally attack us. And there are people out there that use New Age terminology and claim to have New Age belief systems, not to be confused with spiritual. I have other videos where I discuss the difference. Okay. There's spiritual beliefs that are actually not new. Then there's New Age stuff that some people adopt, and certain particular mystical belief systems and obsessions with symbols. And they may, present themselves to be love and light, only to look at the real them and see that, their whole little farm setup was really an Archon operation, them and their significant other, and all the games that were played. And so I'm actually talking and speaking for thousands of people that have actually never either felt that they had a voice or never saw a point in making a video about it. Maybe you thought it was just you. And I'm here to let you know that it's not just you. I'm also here to let those others know, because there's also some anger that my video attracted when I was calling out that. And obviously I was stepping on somebody's food. And that's the thing, that the spiritual parasites, that's what I mean by archons. It's just a word. Don't get caught up in it. Don't get caught up in the matrix. Don't get caught up in words. Think about the ideas. That will help you. That will help. It's like like changing the gears in a vehicle while it's moving. When you're obsessing on the words, that's what it's like. Go with the idea. So people that are spiritual parasites, where they themselves as a soul entity are the parasite, or they're a parasite for others that like to parasite on human energy and free stuff. They'll take in people. And some people do the spiritual thing because they like to have the point of attention on them. That's why you sometimes see the supposed spiritual intentional communities. Because it's not just about them getting energy telepathically. It helps for some of these spiritual parasites to get the energy literally and have people working for them like it's the ancient times. Like they're literally replaying something out of a bad movie, Prometheus or something like that, while calling themselves gods and goddesses. So there is a new age component to this, the counterfeit spiritualists that will present themselves as one thing and actually be something else. So I want to conclude here because I talk about things that upset people in a number of demographics. And I've seen a lot of sabotage in recent years. I stick to myself. And it's like it's a one-man community. I'd like to see things change before major disasters because I don't know that I can trust people when they show an interest in the future when there's a disaster, because if someone's just operating off of survival, especially maybe potential future girlfriends, things of that nature, I'm going to be less inclined to trust that because it's going to be seen as literally all about survival. And a lot of men are all about that. Hey, I help you, you help me. I want to get out of here. It's like that's not something that I can trust. And I know that a lot of women don't read me very well and don't realize that I don't fall for things like that as much anymore. I have in the past. And so this period of 2017, 18, 19, I just spent a lot of time in prayer every day for the Creator to unite me with the right off-grid allies when the time is right. It can be one per year, one off-grid ally per year. And then maybe in a few years, I'll have a few off-grid allies. That's what I want. But because I've dealt with a lot of sabotage, and some people have attempted to do some really cruel things to me as if they've become possessed, and I wonder, being that I am an off-gridder that discusses spiritual warfare. I have basically hundreds of videos now about the Archons. Do I think that it's played a role in being backstabbed by people on the internet or people in the flesh? I do. I do. So I talk to the Creator about my situation, and I look for the amount of time that I've spent being defensive about certain things in this world. I'm thinking about the future and those future moments of community and getting things done and moments of safety and stepping back from the internet and really experiencing my first real positive connections with a group of humans at the same time. You know, I'm 37. A lot of people don't know how long I've been living an isolated life, but I'm not going to be sabotaged on my way to my goals and dreams. So it's not that we should give up our goals and dreams. It's that we have to reevaluate what mindful intentional community is versus the counterfeit. With that, I hope this helps people on their journey. May we all find the good people that we need in our lives.